What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new video as we're set to go ahead and get back into Ultraman Trigger, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, a brand new episode dropped this week. Episode number 5, Akito'S Promise, hit us this past Friday, and we're here to go ahead and break it down for you. It's been quite some time since we've had an Ultraman Trigger episode, honestly. The idea that we get hit with a 2-week hiatus right after episode 4, if you tell me terrible timing, I am kind of curious to see if the hiatus has kind of cut into Ultraman Trigger's viewership. I feel like that's way too early to be taking a 2-week break. So I am kind of curious if they've lost any viewers, if they're still holding on to the amazing momentum that they had certainly built prior. Episode number 4 was hit and miss for me. It didn't really do too much for me. So it felt like they kind of left already sort of on bad terms or on a light episode. Something, if you're going to go into a 2-week hiatus, you would think maybe episode 5 would have probably have been the better choice to kind of end on, just because of the fact that I was so blown away by this episode. I don't know if it was the drama that was added in here. It was just an influx of drama that I really needed, especially after episode number 4 and the 2-week hiatus. So for it to come back with a really strong episode in episode 5, for me, just continued to reinforce why I'm certainly here watching Ultraman Trigger in the first place. So I'm hoping some viewers certainly returned. I get the idea. If you weren't pleased with episode 4, then you had 2 weeks to kind of think about it and sit around with no Ultraman to come back for episode 5. I will be interested to see what the returning viewership certainly looks like so far. I actually tried to go ahead and go onto their website, the Ultraman official YouTube page, to kind of see what their viewership was for the first initial set of episodes 1 through 4, and I'm assuming they take these episodes down after a short period of time and then get re-uploaded, because I have seen the re-uploads with the multi-language subtitles that people can certainly choose from, but the original broadcast of them are no longer there, at least that I haven't been able to see. So, I was really thrilled to see Ultraman Trigger, with 1 million+ views for like the first 3 episodes of theirs. And I was kind of curious to see if episode 4 wind up getting there also. But unfortunately, I believe those episodes have been taken down. But I'll definitely go ahead and try and check once again. But I really enjoyed this episode. I honestly didn't realize how much I was going to miss the show until it sort of was taken away from me. But now that we're certainly back, I'm here for it. They did a great job with this episode of capturing my attention. They did a great job in lore and history building for quite a few of these characters. And really, for me, I think the standout point was the great history lesson that we wind up getting from really Chairman Shizuma's involvement with all of this, right? I think there's been a big sort of question mark in regards to how does Shizuma know all this information that he does, and we quickly come to find out that in this episode, I'm assuming after he wind up discovering the artifacts from the ultra ancient sort of civilization, this allowed Shizuma to start preparing the world, or at least trying to get people that would listen to him, that look, at some point in time, these giants of darknesses are going to come back, or we're going to be facing monsters head on. And so we quickly come to find his just discovery of the ancient ruins, and the idea of that pushing him to create and warn Earth of a forthcoming attack. So the fact that he's so involved with the Guts wing, which they showed in a great flashback video recording, I'm really just glad that they at least laid the groundwork for how Shizuma really fits into the giant scheme of things. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's certainly more of Shizuma's past to certainly be revealed to us. But I thought they did a really great job of history and lore building for this season so far. But one of the things that I definitely want to talk about, because there was a huge push and spotlight on the character of Akito. So in this particular week's episode, a very familiar monster winds up popping up in Deathdrago. Deathdrago, what a great name. You would think that this was like a rip right out of a Rocky 5 or Rocky 4 movie or something like that. Deathdrago is here, and what makes this monster particularly important is that this is the exact same first monster that wind up attacking Earth 6 years ago, that really forced Earth to kind of have to push forward with creation of Guts and all this weaponry and things like that, thanks to Chairman Shizuma. So we wind up getting the introduction here to Deathdrago, but what makes this monster's introduction so much better is that it's actually a very personal situation in regards to Akito, as Deathdrago is actually the monster that killed Akito's parents. So there definitely is a very sort of personal vendetta, if you will, that Akito certainly has against this monster. And I thought they did a tremendous job in showcasing just the emotional struggle that Akito certainly still goes through this day when having to live up to his parents' potential and continue to live, have them live through him, if you will. So to be able to sit there and see that this monster has in fact returned, it's almost like it flipped a switch in Akito, and we get to see sort of that hot-tempered or hot-blooded, sort of hot-tempered, if you will, sort of characteristics of him certainly come out. Him literally making bad decision after bad decision, trying to do his part to take down this monster on his own, even though that's far from his job requirements that his captain has certainly given to him in here. So much, in fact, that where he's actually suspended. So you quickly get to see that the Deathdrago return here is not too kind to Akito whatsoever. But I think what the episode in here does so incredibly well is that it does fill in some blanks that I've had about Akito since the beginning in here, right? Because of the fact that his parents died at such a young age during this first attack by Deathdrago, it's Chairman Shizuma, who his parents were working with Chairman, clearly his only Shizuma's only supporters, so they were fully behind this guy, clearly good friends at some point in time. So once they pass away, Shizuma decides it's clearly on him to go ahead and watch after this kid. And so that's how we wind up getting Akito and Yuna living together for so many years over the past 6 years or so, really having to grow up together, if you will. So I find that rather interesting. And one of the things that I had too in the back of my mind when it came to episode number 2, there was a hint, I don't want to say a hint of jealousy, but some animosity that Akito wind up having towards Kango in regards to the idea that Kango becomes Ultraman Trigger, right? The giant of light, if you will. And it seems as though, I was thinking to myself, like, is this guy like a spoiled brat? Did he just assume that he was going to be the one to discover Ultraman Trigger and become Ultraman and things like that? So I thought his reasoning for being upset with Kango was pretty much out of selfishness, you know what I mean? But this episode really goes to show you that, especially from the flashback sequence that we get between Akito and Yuna in here, that they clearly had intentions of trying to fight for not only Akito's parents, but also for the people in the world. The idea, I think she mentions that, my father mentions that anybody can become the light if they work hard at it, right? So there was already sort of from a young age of a payback, if you will, vengeance for my parents that's been brewing in Akito for quite some time. And I think the idea of him thinking that he would acquire the light at some point in time to be able to get his vengeance for what happened to his family, I think really goes a long way and speaks volumes as to who the Akito character is. So I love just the history building and the lore building that did wonders for some of the characters in here to kind of fill in some of those particular blanks. So, when you see Akito having pushback at Kango in the beginning of the season, it's for a pretty important reason, because of the fact that he thought his life would clearly be different and that he would have the opportunity to save other people when he couldn't certainly save his own family. And I love the fact that that's why this episode is titled Akito's Promise, because we see the promise that he winds up making to Yuna, that they both make to each other. The fact that he's going to be there to fight with her alongside of her together, and there to not only protect people in general, but also protect Yuna at the end of the day. And I think that's what made the scene between Kango and Akito as impactful as it was, when you see that Akito is clearly down in his dumps after he's been suspended. Kango clearly being made aware as to what the promise certainly was, trying to remind Akito of that. And so when he asks Akito, why did you join Gut Select in the first place, right? Like if you're that pissed off and upset that you're going to do anything that it takes to just destroy and kill a monster, what's your main purpose of wanting to be here in the first place? Is it just simply for vengeance? Is it to go ahead and get your revenge? Like that's not really the mindset that I would think that you would be when you're trying to become a member of Gut Select. And that promise definitely does go a long way in reminding him, I'm truly here to protect people, right? Like I can't let my own personal issues sort of get in the way and undermine what it is that I certainly can do, because my own personal issues could be killing people out there that I need to be sort of focusing and protecting. So I do love that everything really does come full circle, and I think the return of Deathdrago in here was pretty monumental in regards to triggering some of those past emotions and really getting an opportunity to see more of Akito and who he is as a person, and even seeing him stand up to Dargon at the end to go ahead and protect Yuna. I think definitely goes a long way in regards to their friendship and their relationship in general. She has mentioned the idea that, I kind of just look at Akito as my brother, and I joked around about the idea that he's been friend zoned clearly for some time, stuck in Palcatraz. But I'm hoping that this kind of opens that door for him a little bit, right? Like maybe it's still going to be strictly friendship, but I think the fact that he was there to protect somebody that he clearly cares about in more ways than one, open that door, Yuna. Open that door a little bit. Let homeboy in. At least get a peek of what it's like outside of Palcatraz. So we'll definitely see and keep you guys posted as their relationship continues to blossom. Maybe it turns into something. Maybe it certainly doesn't. But I will say this. It definitely did give me a different perspective of the Akito character here in this week's episode. And speaking of which, I did find the other storyline here of our Giants of Darkness quite fascinating. I was not expecting the hunt for Yuna to certainly continue in here. It felt very much like an attack on two fronts, right? Almost like, I don't want to say that they sent this Deathdrago to go ahead and attack Earth again, but they definitely powered him up. Chimera definitely did go ahead and power him up. But I thought it was a brilliant plan on their part to have this monster wreak havoc, and while it's doing that and other people are distracted, having Dargon go down to Earth and try and capture Yuna for himself. They've been trying to get Yuzari to certainly come back out, have their way with her and things like that. And so the fact that they're trying to look and capture Yuna, aka Yuzari, in here, I actually thought was a pretty brilliant move. But the one thing that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, look, Dargon could have been pretty forceful with them at any particular point in time. It's almost like he's kind of playing with them a little bit like his toys. I know that he mentions the idea like, I'm gonna go all out to defeat you guys. He doesn't go all out. As strong as this dude is, he literally could have punched a hole in somebody's stomach if he wanted to at any particular point in time, but he's just grabbing and tossing and not really doing too much damage. When you're supposed to be the heavy hitter of the group, I'm expecting a lot more from you in here. And Dargon, honestly, went pretty light on them. It is a situation where I'm kind of curious, because we have learned that when it comes to Yuzari, threatening Yuna's life is the key to getting Yuzari out, or at least bringing her to the forefront. So I found it interesting that Yuzari, for the most part, didn't even bother to show up, didn't try to come in, almost like she was calling Dargon's bluff, like, you're not going to harm this human. There's no way. There's no reason why I should come out. You're not going to harm this person. And maybe that's why he went a little bit lighter on it. But if you're trying to capture Yuzari, you gotta put Yuna's life at risk, like in great peril. And he just didn't do that, and Yuzari didn't even bother to kind of come out. Instead, we find Yuna sort of standing up for herself with a straight-on slap of Dargon, and I'm actually surprised that Dargon didn't do anything, and almost like it kind of took him aback, and I don't know what it is that made him pause. For a minute there, I was thinking to myself, if Dargon and Yuzari, maybe they had some sort of past together, and he's, it's bringing back old memories, or if he's noticing that the fight with humans isn't quite what he expected, right? Like maybe it's the idea that she has such great spirit. There's such a level of defiance within her, in Yuna, I should say. The fact that she's bold enough to, knowing that this guy can kill her at any moment, to literally just slap him across the face sort of thing. I am wondering if that is making Dargon, I don't want to say reconsider, but definitely look at the human race and the species completely differently than he certainly used to. Maybe he thought that this was going to be a very easy fight, something that he could just push people over, and maybe Yuna taking a stance not only for herself, but she slaps him and he says, you know, we humans sort of thing, you'll never get rid of us sort of thing. So I am curious if the defiance alone is something that startled Dargon to realize maybe this fight with the humans isn't going to be as easy or as much of a pushover as we certainly thought. Or maybe there's an even further connection between Dargon and Yuzari. But regardless, I'm continuing to love how they're utilizing the Giants of Darkness in here, and coming again with an attack on both fronts. Speaking of attack in here, was a big fan of the action sequences, if you ask me. Seeing Deathdrago powered up even more than what he was in the beginning of this episode was pretty chilling. Incredible effects and even a great battle with Deathdrago in here. Also getting to see that Sky type and that really sick just like power bow that he has. Incredible stuff. Like even towards the end when you see him harnessing the power of Deathdrago in his sword and he raises it in the air, it gave me like Masters of the Universe chills for some reason. And then to see him kind of take that energy and redirect it back into a bow to Deathdrago, priceless, man. Visually just stunning. There's another great shot too at the end when you just see like Ultraman standing above everything and you got this great sunbeam just sort of hitting him. This show is incredible when it comes to the action, cinematography, the music alone in here gets me hyped and pumped. I mean, it knows just when to turn on, when to hit those somber moments too. All that stuff really helps carry this series so far, which has a pretty good and solid storyline, I got to admit. It just really heightens all of it. So really impressed. You know, I was ready for Ultraman to return. I wasn't sure if we were going to get something like an episode 4 that was just like an episode to me. But no, they came out the gate swinging with some great drama, great action, and great character building in here. And again, it definitely gives me a much better understanding of Chairman Shizuma and how he kind of got into this fight, along with Akito's personality as well. So guys, I want to know your thoughts. What did you guys think about episode number 5? Remember, these are just simply my A+ opinions, but at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know yours. So let your thoughts be known about Ultraman episode number 5 in the comment section box below, or I should say the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video winds up airing. But other than that, guys, if we have ourselves another episode of Ultraman Trigger next week, I definitely will be here to certainly review it for you. So in the meantime, guys, do me a big favor, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. If you enjoy our content and want to be a part of helping our channel grow, become a patron supporter. We have affordable tiers to choose from that offer a variety of exclusive and early access content, from audio files for all of our shows for you to enjoy on the road, access to our Discord community, and plenty of reactions, reviews, character breakdowns, and more. Check us out at patreon.com/A+opinions, and as always, remember, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you will be notified.